Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Photographer Mindset Podcast. I'm your co-host, Seth Macy.
I'm your co-host, Aaron Manis. Wookiees at a fish show.
You know what that's from?
No, I didn't even hear what you said.
Sling Blade?
Yes.
Yep. Trivia. Seth. 2 for 2. Seth.
Ian?
Oh, you didn't want to be me like Aaron did?
No.
Would you want to be another person? Have you ever thought about this? Would you want someone else's life? Really?
No. Well, it depends on for how long.
Forever.
No, not forever.
Like you substitute your life for someone else's. It can be anyone in the world.
No.
Right?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
But if the question was momentarily, just to see for a little bit, then yeah.
That's not the question. The question is substituting your life for theirs from start to end.
No, I wouldn't.
Right? And it's not even because necessarily that I think my life is amazing. I just know that everyone has their own batch of problems.
Yeah.
Do you have to start over? We have to start from baby?
Yeah. You have no recollection of your own life. Just...
Well, then what the hell's the decision? You don't even remember the decision you made. That's not fun.
That's not fun.
Okay, well then make it better. I'm not perfect, guys. Come on.
You gotta have the consequence of your decision in your mind.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Okay, good.
But momentarily, like if you could just switch with XYZ for an hour or two, and
Who would you switch with?
Ooh.
I think I would switch with
the person who would allow me to experience things. It doesn't have to necessarily be like that person.
I'm not sure I follow.
Like, let's say you want to experience what it would be like to drive a Lamborghini on a race car track or drive an F1 car just to see what that's like. So you could switch with the person who can't do that. You know what I mean?
Do you embody their skills too? If you switch with them? It's
or like, just for an example, if you switch with an incredibly rich person for a day, just to be able to utilize their money and their access and resources, just to experience basically a rich, lavish life for that day and then just come back. Not necessarily have to be that person.
So let's say you switched with Cristiano Ronaldo. Can you kick a soccer ball like him for a day?
Yeah,
in this sense, you have the muscles and leg strength. I would assume you could kick better than you normally would be able to.
You are him.
Sweet. Ian Jones, round what, 7?
I don't know, actually.
Last we spoke was 6 months ago.
Was it?
I know for a fact it was 6 months ago because...
he probably looked.
No, because Ian texted me the other day and he says, yo, I'm 6 months sober. I haven't had a drink in 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And that was...
Did we press
that streak started... Yeah, do we press the clappy thing?
I don't have it.
I have to guess.
Do I have it?
Nope.
Price is right.
Nope. Nope. We're laughing at him.
There it is.
It's funny because at first it sounds like vomit.
Yeah.
Well, that was...
Yeah, no, I remember because your streak started after that conversation. So.
Yeah, it was right after. I have the tracker on my phone. I don't know why I even have it still.
How much money have you saved? Do you know? Does it track that?
Oh, I didn't really track it. I mean, you could probably add it up if you want to, but that's probably disgusting. Yeah, 6 months, 6 days, 18 hours.
Well, good for you. That's impressive.
15 minutes.
It's always interesting because when you hear things like that, you assume the person had a huge problem. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, arguably, probably.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, no, but I mean, in the sense of what you're saying, like, no. Like, I didn't get up and beat people up or get DUIs or anything like that.
What was the 6 months ago and 18 days and however many hours? What was the decision and how did it keep going?
Well, realistically, it was just me and Gabby were talking about doing dry January, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I had started probably drinking when COVID hit. And then it progressively started occurring more and more and more. And then
crept up on you?
Yeah, but it was just a normal social thing. And then it became a thing that you were doing at the house. And then through life events that throw people for loops, there was a moment in time, maybe a year and a half to 2 years, where I was home alone a lot by myself. And then it just became a boredom thing, realistically. Mm-hmm. It's well, I'm home. I don't have anything going on right now. And then it was just, and then it just progressed into like a 6-pack a day. And then it went to like a 6-pack a day to like a handle of gin every 3 days. And then it just progressively went through. I was probably drinking enough for like 6 people.
Shit.
But you would ever even realize it or know it. Not that it's anything to like brag about, but I was still getting up, going to work. I was still
like high functioning.
Yeah, functional.
But the difference was it was like I was just using it as a boredom coping mechanism, essentially.
That's interesting because maybe this can tie into this because at least the Ian I've known in the last year is firing off like 30 videos a week.
Yeah.
Is that a new thing? Because that seems to be an interesting way that you're channeling. I don't know necessarily boredom. Maybe it's just like a creative.
Well, it was so the time like I would get home from work, or I'd get home from a gig, or I would get home from something, and then while I was home, the time from when I'm home to like when I'm going to bed, that time frame was being consumed with just like drinking alcohol and like chilling out by myself.
Yeah, and I'm saying now it's not. Now every spare minute of your free time, you're being creative in some shape or form, which is I feel like tied to you kind of kicking this habit. Is that the right phrase?
No, well, the thing is now it's like doing that first month for dry January. I think it was like maybe 2-3 weeks in, my body had like just completely cleansed itself.
Yeah, you said that in your podcast. I remember listening to that. You're like, you found this new level of energy. You're like, where the hell has this been?
Yeah, I just started seeing in like 4K, and then I started feeling amazing. And now it's to the point where I feel like how I am now is how like I'm like just normal me. Like how I am now is how I should have been that entire time.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. And you probably felt at the time you were normal. Like that was normal you. And now this is like a new improved level of normal.
Yeah.
You were vulnerable enough to admit like how much you were doing, a handle of gin every couple of days, 6
Yeah, like the big ones you'd get at the bar.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot, man.
I would just mix it with water because in my head I was like, it's not that many calories.
Then you stopped cold turkey in January.
Yeah.
Were there any ill effects first couple weeks?
Nothing.
Would you replace that boredom with from the get-go, or like the function of drinking? Now there's a huge vacuum. There's a huge space in that time where you're home alone. And the typical move would be to like, I'm going to make a drink. I'm going to pour a drink, sit back, relax, take the edge off, whatever it is. What replaced that?
I just started like just doing more like creative stuff because I feel like my brain was functioning at a different level. So it was allowed to access those parts of my brain that were being blocked off over the course of that time. Now, like people ask me this, like you just said, like, oh, how did you do it? You know, like did you have any breakdowns or anything like that? And it's like, I'm the worst person to ask advice about that because I just stopped doing it.
Yeah, I find that so interesting about you.
There was no
not hard to do for me.
There was no desire. There was no missing it. There was nothing for me to be like, oh man, I can't go out in public. I need to get like a drink or something like that. I just stopped doing it.
I mean, there's insight in that too. If it doesn't hurt your social life, you feel better. I think you can almost have a post-mortem and be like, this absolutely adds nothing to my life. Why would I continue or go back?
Yeah.
You've been with Gabby for a while now. What's her part in this story?
Well, I mean, it's going on probably a year and a half, like right around that place. Mm-hmm. Her part in it was like, she didn't really like drink that much either to begin with. Mm-hmm. It was just like a social thing. But then she's like, I'll like do it with you because like, I don't really feel like it's a necessity either. And
nice.
then
So she's on the journey with you.
Yeah. I don't even want to call it a journey. Like,
I know, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. We can like tend to want to make these grandiose, and in and of itself, it's a big deal. I mean, congratulations. It's like better for you. It's better for your wallet and all those things. But at the same time, I know you well, and it's almost like, guys, we don't need to make a big deal out of this. I just stopped doing something that I no longer wanted to continue. And that's fine. That's cool. I also realize that other people struggle very much so with something like this, whether it's alcohol or social media or even stuff that can be considered healthy, exercise, things of that matter. So I do find your case interesting where you're just like, hey man, I just stopped. And then I channeled that energy elsewhere, which I'd like to get into, which is your insane video creation binge.
Yeah, no.
I was texting Ian yesterday, and he's always just like in text. He's like, he'll be referencing, like that reel I made the other day. I'm like, buddy, you think that I have tabs on all 30 of your reels that you're making per week? He's like, I told him I was going to make a video where it's just him texting me and says that, where he's like, that reel, this reel I did. And I just like slowly go insane. And I end up in a straitjacket in an asylum rocking back and forth because of Ian.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't, I don't blame you. And it's, look at me trying to do like 3 things at once.
Yeah. What are you doing right now?
He's adjusting everything that was just perfect for an hour that we did.
No, I don't know what happened, but my TV just said input loss. Give me just get that one second.
Hey Seth, how have you been?
We'll talk while he noodles around.
Oh, he's back. Okay.
I said 1 second.
Oh, really meant 1 second.
I always forget to grab this thing. I hate it, but
what is it?
My Philips Hue sensor.
Oh, I thought you grabbed a fidget spinner.
No, yeah, no,
I need that.
He's an iPad
drinking. Replace drinking with fidget spinners.
The iPad kids are
everywhere. The iPad everywhere, huh?
iPad adults are the worst.
Yeah. Okay, well, did you say that all this recent, you've been making a ton of videos, man. Sometimes they're just skits, sometimes they're for clients. Were you operating on that level prior to all this? I don't want to relate everything back or credit everything to you stopping maybe a negative habit, but.
No, I mean, it's completely fine. Like, I don't think I've been operating on this level if ever.
Explain what that means. You say I feel like I'm seeing things in 4K and operating on this level. Explain the difference between now and then, just in the best way you can, whether that's energy level or just how you're feeling internally. Just try and describe that to somebody who has no idea what you're talking about. Try your best.
Okay, this is just hearsay. So if I don't wear contacts and I don't wear a bra, but I feel like if a woman goes her entire day wearing a bra and then she takes it off at the end of the day. No, and you know how they're always like, oh, I'm so glad I got this off. Yeah. Or like if you have contacts, you take them out and you put like Visine in your eye. I feel like it's just like that feeling.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Just a relief. Something that was on you that you almost didn't notice. And then you do notice it when it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then how does that translate to output, performance, efficiency, energy, if at all?
I have an insane amount of energy as of late since like stopped consuming that much. So my energy spiked. My body's like back to normal. I lost 30 pounds.
Yeah. Didn't you tell me you went to your doctor and they're like, what did you do?
Yeah. Well,
I literally just cut out this one variable and nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. I went to go see her a few weeks ago and she put me on the scale and everything. And she's like, oh, she goes, what have you been doing? Did you like change up your diet or did you start? And I was like, I don't
remember prescribing you Ozempic.
I just stopped drinking. So that was like pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's funny. Ian sent me a picture the other day. He's like, look at the photo from my DoorDash delivery. And it's just this super veiny vascular arm, all muscly. And I'm like, yo, your door delivery guy's jacked, dude. And he goes, it's me.
He's all healthy now. But I'll tell you what hasn't been fixed. His tech issues on this podcast.
Yeah, what are you doing? You keep getting up and fidgeting. Are we boring?
No. My camera just stops recording.
Oh, well, that's a good thing that we have the webcam recording.
Good.
For instances like you.
I'm not gonna say why it stopped recording.
Why? Because you didn't put enough battery in?
No.
You don't have an SD card?
No.
Tell us why.
I'm not going to say why because everybody that's listening will be like, "Oh, that's Sony for you."
Oh,
it's overheating.
Overheating.
Really? Huh? I haven't had that issue.
Yeah, me either.
Sony.
Well, it's because I'm shooting 4K S-Log and no one needs to do that.
Why are you doing S-Log? We don't need to color grade.
I don't need to color. I know I don't need to do that.
You're going to make Aaron, the video editor, color grade?
I was going to do it for him. I was going to do everything for him and send everything.
He's going to crop
Aaron's
it.
like, yeah, you were.
He's going to crop it vertical and he's going to color grade it. I don't got time for that.
How do you have time for that, man? Ian.
All right, you know what? We're good. We're good now.
How do you have time for that stuff?
Well, doing all the video and everything?
You're like, why not just film in regular? You're so funny. You're like, you got to do it the best can be. And like, you add work to your plate, and I know that you'll do it well. But it's just almost unnecessary.
Well, I don't even feel like it's work.
Yeah.
Say more.
You know what I mean? Like, I just want to like if I'm going to make something or record something or do any type of work, like I want it to, like me, I just feel like if I'm going to record a video, I'm shooting 4K 60 frames per second, shooting S-Log, I'm going to color grade, going to do sound design, I'm going to do all that other stuff. I'm going to make a cover photo. I'm going to make sure everything is like perfect. That's just like the standard of which I start at, I feel like.
I find that interesting. Why do you do 60 frames for everything?
Because I do 60 frames per second for everything. I mean, for the most part, just because if I want to slow something down, I can. So like on my camera, I have my settings. So number one is 4K 60 frames per second, which is what I mostly shoot in. And then 2 is 4K 30 frames per second if I'm just doing a quick, like an Instagram reel for like work or something like that. And then the settings go on and so forth through that.
So you don't think about, this I'm going to want to slow down, so I better film in 60. And in other words, you don't think about how fast you want the scene to be played back. You just shoot in 60 no matter what. I find that interesting.
Yeah, no matter what.
Because I don't shoot that way at all.
Just because if I see something, like if I'm filming something and something happens to where I want it to be slowed down quickly and I didn't do that, I would be like, well, why didn't I just do that? Because it doesn't take away from anything.
Yeah, I guess it's different approaches. Because in my head, I'm like already thinking about if I want this scene slowed down before I press the record button.
Yeah. Well, I'm also like,
you work fast.
Yeah.
And you're a move fast and break stuff kind of guy.
Not really. I don't break.
Yeah, you are. Because you have to be when you work at that speed.
I don't break anything.
I caught you in your AI video. I was like, look at your tachometer is all screwy. Fix it.
Well, that wasn't even my fault.
I can go through our text. I bet you I can find 3 where it says, "Oh, good catch" from you before you press publish. So I'll be expecting royalties if any of that was commercial.
Well, the one thing on the tachometer was I didn't make that.
Yeah, AI did. But I'm saying you move so fast, you missed it.
Oh, I didn't pay. Yeah, I didn't see those like little numbers. So, but that's why I have at least.
That's why you have me, is what you're saying?
Well, I have like 3 to 4 people I send stuff to. But
I'm not the only.
No, but the problem is sometimes they take too long to get back to me and it's too late.
Oh my God. Ian's worse. He'll be like, he'll send me a video and then 15 minutes will pass. He'll go, never mind, took too long. I'm like, buddy, what? This is what I'm saying. You say you don't move fast and break things.
Yeah.
If you live in a world where 15 minutes is too long, you move fast. I'm sorry. End of discussion. Good friend.
But I like Ian's approach on the S-Log and 60 frames. I think I'm like that too. It's hard to leave stuff on the table, like leave meat on the bone when you're going into something. And you're like, well, S-Log is going to give me the best sort of dynamic range. I can color grade it the way I want. It's hard to like skip that step, I find. And just kind of not mail it in, because sometimes, Seth, you're 100% right. Like for this podcast stuff, I have a picture profile. I'm not going into S-Log and curving everything and doing the whole rundown. But if I'm doing any sort of work that I'm proud of or for a client, it's hard to skip that step, knowing in my head like, that's going to have the better result.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it kind of just
better? Also, like,
well, I think about it this way. I'm like, what is the What is the return on this? I always think about that, if
100%.
The camp I'm working for right now, do they care if it's color graded? Do I want to add that extra? I mean, if I add that extra work to my plate, color grading, I either have to hire an editor who's better at it than me, which is probably everybody, or I have to almost, increase my time on this project by 33%, which costs my client more. Is that worth it to them? Probably not. Am I just going to record in the standard setting? Yeah.
Yeah. ROI is important to consider, I think.
Which is subjective too.
Yeah. But
I mean, it's also really relative to what that client is used to getting.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
Like, well, I was just telling you about the arcade people that I've been working with.
Yeah.
Like 9 times out of 10, the content that they receive or they get back or pay for is an X amount of standard. And then I worked with them and I sent them my stuff, and then they were like blown away by it, to the point where I told you that they're like, oh, we're going to make this into ad material and use it for marketing material. And it's probably because the level of which I gave them content back, they weren't used to that. Could I have just done probably something BS and quick and easy? Yeah, sure. And they probably still would have been happy with it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it probably depends on what the client is like used to getting.
Mm-hmm. And I think it also depends on if you're going to over deliver like that. I think you're thinking long term. You're hoping that it has the impact that you just described and it leads to more. If it doesn't lead to more, it's not going to. I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah. But I didn't go into that being like, I'm going to over deliver.
You naturally over deliver, I think, in my opinion, knowing you.
Yeah, that's just like what
it's just a good quality to have, but I think also it can be, if you're not careful, it can run away on you.
Yeah. But Seth, if you're used to, like anything, if you're used to filming an S-Log, you probably have a preset setting to get the color correction fast. And then you probably know what sort of LUT or what sort of color grade you want to do on it pretty fast. And with more experience, just the quicker it gets. And then it becomes your style. Like if you ask me to do what you do and find like the picture profile and apply that, and like I would be clunky at first too with that method, like finding that setting in my camera and figuring it out. So I think it's also comfort level. Like, I was with Nooch filming for that Goose thing, that practice session that they did, and he wasn't in an S-Log, and I was like,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and his buddy was, and I was like, I always do S-Log, and like that's what I'm comfortable with. And he switched over, but he wasn't used to S-Log, so it gave him a lot of trouble. And
Mike switched. I thought he was going to have an intelligent answer as to why he wasn't.
No, he was just like, yeah. He's like, I've heard that, so maybe we should all be on the same page here. Like,
I mean, it's for consistency. If you have more than one shooter, for sure.
But yeah, it's just kind of what you're comfortable with, I guess, and the product that you put out. I don't know if you could. A finished product color graded, and if you're adding a LUT or if you're adding certain tones to it, sure. But if you just color correct S-Log versus one of the Sony profiles, if you challenged people which one is which, I bet.
I mean, people who are really good at color grading, you can tell, and it has a great impact. I'm not that person, and I don't like color grading enough to get to that point. I'm almost the person who would rather just hire somebody.
Yeah.
Because I just don't like it. And it's not me trying to cop out on learning and doing something difficult. I like facing challenges and doing difficult things. I just have zero interest in color grading. I really don't like it. I like the end result, but if I can pay somebody a great rate and bake that into a price of something I'm working on, I will do that. Because whatever.
I think it really all depends too on like what you're shooting, because like Aaron said, like my workflow is also when I first got my A7 III, like 6 years ago, like a long time ago, when I first got that, and I went from a Nikon D7 550, or I can't even remember what model it was, but when I went from that to the Sony, I was completely lost.
Well, of course, yeah.
And then Peter Lindgren, my buddy, he's Sweden, I was like, call me, help me set this up. So we went through his camera and he told me all the settings that his camera was in. He's like, you need to start shooting S-Log, you need to do this. These should be your shortcut buttons. So when you're doing all this stuff, everything's there. So when I got the A1, maybe like 4 or 5 months ago, I just transferred over all those settings to this one.
Yeah.
So I've just been shooting that way. Everything's just there quickly, so I know what it's doing. And then when I go into editing and I put the footage, the S-Log footage with whatever Sony, it's like Picture Profile 8 or whatever it is, that goes into Final Cut Pro. And I have enough pre-made LUTs that I've made over the years, stuff that I have in there. So it's easy for me to, just like editing a raw photo. You could throw your raw photo and you could be like, all right, I have these presets I've used. Okay, that one looks good as a base. And then you just go in there and fine tweak. So that's how I feel like it's easier in the flow. Like Aaron said, you just start to get used to doing it. But it depends on what you're shooting too.
Yeah, I love them. You're talking about the memory recall feature on Sony?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I do memory recall 1 is 30 frames, memory recall 2 is 60, my S&Q is 120, and then just photos and manual.
I never use S&Q.
You should. Because I like to balance between, there's certain moments, obviously, you know, when you're out in the field where this is a photograph, this is a photographic moment, and this is a moment that is built for video.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently set it up too, where my 2 memory cards, I never used to do this, and this is so stupid, where photos go to one card and video goes to the other card, which I never used to have set up.
Wow.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, I do that too. It's amazing.
Yeah, so like it on my video, so I can just bounce back and forth and not have them all kind of intermingled on the same card.
Nice feature.
Yeah.
Ian, I challenge you for the intro of this YouTube show to make an intro.
What YouTube show?
In your style, stylizing 10 second intro of you setting up your mic, getting ready for this podcast. Really cinematic, really dramatic, incredible music. 10 seconds, no more. So the people can see your style, and we'll have a great intro. This is a great. This is a.
I see what you're saying.
Back, you scratch my back.
I see what you're saying. So you're actually asking me to do that.
Yeah, homework. You don't
need an email brief with all the details after.
No,
a detailed outline for the 10-second video.
Carte
I mean,
blanche.
that's a good idea. That's fine.
Creative outlet. You have artistic freedom.
I will probably have that done today.
I know you will. You're probably already working on it. I can see your computer.
Probably.
His eyes are darting.
Probably. That's a thing where it's like, I will do that. Like I will think of something and then I have to do it.
Yeah. Our last episode idea graveyard.
Yeah.
Have you put anything in your idea graveyard, or are you still just executing on every idea, every vision that comes to your head? Because I know in the past you've said, if it comes to my head, I got to make it.
9 times out of 10, I'm making everything.
Was it 10 out of 10 before? Or is it just,
I still feel like it's 10 out of 10. I mean, there's some things where I'll start and I'll get to editing it and I'll look at it and I'm like, well, while that one piece looks cool, I don't know where else to take it. So it will either get shelved, or I can recycle that footage into something else.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always filming it and making stuff. Like, do you remember when I filmed that clip of 2 of me on each side of the couch?
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to each other.
That was really cool. And then nothing came of it, I'm realizing now.
It was cool because I wanted to see how I could do that. And you guys aren't going to understand this, and people aren't really going to understand it. But sometimes when I make content, the mood or mindset I'm in when that content is getting made is what comes out.
Why would we not understand that?
Huh?
Why would we not understand that?
I mean, like, you're not like in, like, if I'm going through something, or let's say I'm going through something, or in my head I'm being like a whiny bitch about something, or mildly depressed about something, or I'm angry about something.
Okay.
I will get an idea from that mood and I'll make something.
What happens when you leave that mood and have to return to that same concept later?
Why did I want to? Like, where those 2 people were talking to each other, where that was going, I wasn't there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I stopped making it.
Okay, where were you at the start and where did it go? That prohibited you from continuing?
I was at a point in that time frame when I wanted to do that, was where I was like, I wanted to like tell more of a story of like me, like a personal thing of like the struggles and things that I was dealing with and like facing or stuff I've been through and stuff like that. And then I was like down while I was doing that. And then I got out of that mindset.
Wait, down. Sorry for clarification. Down. You say down. Down as in your mood was down, or like you were down to do it?
My mood was down.
Okay.
Like I was not happy. And then I wasn't in that space anymore. So I was like, I don't really want to do this and like put this out because.
You're like a method creator. How there's method acting.
Yeah. Like, for example, the reel I made a few weeks ago where I'm in my office and I'm throwing down photos of myself. And you know what I'm talking about? It's like a highlight reel thing.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't think I saw it.
How could?
Not a true friend.
Anyway,
this is just a.
It was cool. I loved it. Like I really liked it, but it was just like basically like a hype reel for myself. But when I made that, I was in a mood where I was pissed off and angry a little bit at how social media and creativity and how stuff is valued and that space. So that's where that came from. And I made it, I posted it, and I was like, cool, I got that out. And now I'm not in that space anymore for the time being.
Say, is there a sense of relief that gets you out of a headspace that you don't necessarily want to be in, but that you have to accept that you're in the moment? In other words, when you create it, is it almost like a pressure release valve for discharging some energy?
Oh, it's definitely therapeutic, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Must be
like,
cathartic.
I enjoy making it, and then when it's made and like posting it and just putting it out there, I'm like, all right, that's there now, and it's going to live there. So if I'm ever in that place again, it's there. So like if people want to look at that, they could be like, okay, that's where he was. But if we're being honest, nobody knows that. Nobody like pays attention to that.
Well, and that begs the question, is it important for people to know or understand how you were feeling in that moment? Or
No.
is it, no, it's not. It's more for you.
Exactly. I mean, like I said multiple times, hand over fist, about the idea graveyard or posting stuff or being afraid to be like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's outside of my normal thing. And I always say, like, I make stuff for myself. I make content for myself. I post stuff for myself. What I put out there for everybody to see is for me. And it's just my digital diary, essentially.
Where do you think?
Makes sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Where do you think the frustration comes from then? Because I know you're pretty good at this, but I do think sometimes you do get a little frustrated when things don't hit or don't land or don't. Is the frustration that you don't feel like the content was understood, or is it surely because the metrics didn't live up to the expectations you had?
I feel like the metrics and if stuff is understood kind of go hand in hand. And it's kind of like it's not like hard to talk about, because in my mind, if I talk about it in the way I want to talk about it, makes me sound like pompous or whatever.
Why?
Like, because sometimes I feel like I make content that needs to actually be sat down and watched and paid attention to and understood. And it's not for like you're drooling at the mouth just to go, duh. Like you have to actually pay attention to it. And I feel like that's why a lot of the times some of my stuff doesn't like hit how I want it to, but in the same sense, like it's there. I liked it. I made it. And that's what I wanted to put out. But I mean, there are people who actually sit down and watch something or will comment me or DM, be like, hey, I liked when XYZ happened, you know?
Right. So that matters. I guess my question for you here would be, so the individuals that are unable to stay attentive to that video that you say deserves a longer duration of attention, who's accountable for that? Is it you in the sense of your video didn't capture enough attention, or is it them in the sense of they have the attention span of a goldfish?
I mean, I don't think it's my responsibility to cater to those people.
That's not what I asked, though. Like, it's not your responsibility to cater, but if you want people to stick around, is it your responsibility to figure out how to do that better?
Oh, I mean, I know how to play that game, like to get people to stick around.
Well, that game is dangerous, right? Because then you can end up being formulaic.
Well, exactly. So like, let's say I make a piece of content.
Sure.
Depending on what that content is, it will depend on how I edit it. There are times where I'll make a piece of content that I will not sacrifice cutting anything out. I won't sacrifice throwing it vertical. I won't sacrifice cutting it down. Like if I'm like, this is kind of a little bit too long, but I really like this is what you're getting. But I will edit and cut down differently for, like, I could have the same piece of content that goes on Instagram and TikTok, and the TikTok version will be different. Because the TikTok is like, that's where like a lot of the, like the fast, all that other stuff. So there's like hooks and every 2 seconds and all this other stuff and the sounds. But playing that game gets dangerous because you're not making content for yourself anymore. You're literally just making content for the metrics.
Yeah. And I think if you look culturally, when I was growing up, and you guys too, I think a little bit later maybe, but when I was growing up, things hit differently than they do now. Like movies hit, Jurassic Park comes out, that hit. It was like a cultural enjoyment of art on a massive level. Movies hit. A album came out that crushed, it hit. Now it's hard for movies to hit. It's hard for an album to come out and hit and be like, that album everyone's loving, everyone wants that. It's more of these like tiny niche, like small rivers versus a huge ocean coming through culturally. So Ian, you can put in the like tons of effort and we all can tons of effort on a photo, on a video, a concept. And it's just so shattered in terms of views and eyes and people's algorithms and what they're looking for and what they're using social media for, the attention span. We could go on with this list forever.
Yeah.
But we grew up in a way that like actual art was rewarded. And a fantastic movie was rewarded. A fantastic album was rewarded. Now it's like, here's a single, here's a single, here's a single, here's a single, here's a 15-second video, here's a 10-second video, here's an 8-second video. That's not doing well enough. Here's a 6-second video. And it's just getting like watered down to these points. I think it's tough to make that massive impact like used to be able to happen.
I think nowadays, even with like as time progresses, everybody is so used to like the instant gratification. So like if I don't have that gratification right now, I'm bored of this. So I was actually thinking about the movie aspect of it the other day because my neighbors went to go watch F1, and he's a big F1 fan, and he looked it up. It was like 2.5, almost 3 hours long. And then later in the day, I was making content. I was like editing stuff, and I was like, how do these movie directors and movie editors go into editing a project like that is an insane amount of detail? They, in the back of their mind, they must have some type of thought process to be like, people's attention spans are terrible, or are they like, well, it's a movie, they're going to the movie, so this is like what they expect. But content is just so like boom, 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 boom. Like you have to like do everything quickly and get everything out quickly. And if you don't get your point across quickly, people are like, I don't care. So at a certain point, will like people stop going to watch those long movies?
Well, I don't know. I think they're shifting. Think of all the Marvel movies. I turn on a movie now, an action movie, and it's so different than it was an action movie when I grew up, right? Like the Die Hards or the Matrix or whatever are slow comparatively to Captain America, where it's like every scene is exploding and this and that. So there is that. My question, are the movies like Braveheart, where it's 3 hours with like 2-3 awesome battle scenes and a lot of dialogue? Like those are probably going away slowly because they're just not, the return on investment for this whole production is not going to be great unless you make an absolute original new movie that just blows things away, with whether it's technology or what have you. But I think it definitely is changing. I think of one of my favorite movies is There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, it's a good one.
It's a great movie, but it is plodding and slow. And I just don't know.
But the payoff is good.
Yeah.
I think what you've described as the baseline for attention has drastically risen.
Yeah. Unless you're like a very popular, established, and
right.
Hey, this could actually be tied into social media. Unless you're a popular, already established celebrity director, you can do that stuff, and people are going to stop and pay attention because you're a big name. Like Interstellar, those movies are going to be always watched. They're always going to be paid attention to because the director, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like James Cameron could come out with a 4.5 hour long movie, and you're like, I'm going to go watch that because I know James Cameron. He does X, Y, Z. It's going to be good no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that in like make it into social media terms, if Peter McKinnon posted anything, people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to watch this because he is who he is.
I agree, but I agree up to a point. Like in your example, if Peter McKinnon dropped dud after dud after dud, I think that would fade.
Well, at a certain point, yeah.
I feel like just to clarify, a certain level of quality has to be maintained.
Yes.
Right. And I think to Aaron's point too, I think the space and the anticipation and the payoff used to be much more. The space between action and stimuli was much more expected and appreciated. Now it is much more difficult to maintain a level of attention to get people to buy into sticking around to the payoff. And that's where all the games are played.
Yeah.
Which is how it is. I mean, we've talked about this. If you want to play the game, you got to play the game. You can't bring a baseball glove to a football game and hope things that are different, want things to be different than they are. That's not how reality works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that's like the social media stuff where I was saying, like the stuff that I actually want to make and I care about and I want to get it out. I'm not going to sacrifice the stuff. You know what I mean? But if I get to a point where I'm like, all right, like I'm playing your game, and then I'll go make that wacky do super relatable photography reel, and like I'll post that, and it's like, you know, and I'm like, there you go. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back to doing like what I want to do for right now.
Yeah. I mean, also, and I will say sooner or later, authenticity shines through alongside quality.
Yeah. Well, that's basically what that reel was that I made when I was pissed off, where I based the caption, I think it said, was like the death of creativity or whatever.
Describe the reel for people because you're referencing it.
Yeah. It was just a reel of me basically angry, and it was a reel to remind myself like who I am and like what I'm doing and like why this is so much better than XYZ, because it was a point of frustration where I was at of seeing brand after brand after brand, company after company after company pay dollars to work with people who put out crap work, how it's always safe, it's dumb, and it's made for TikTok generation, no matter what. And they're paying them for something that's not even creative, where if I spent literally 20 seconds, I could come up with 17 better ideas that would have hit better.
Why don't you?
Well, I can, but the thing is, these companies aren't like reaching out to me or in general, you know, they just work with the same people over and over and over, and they are okay with that level of whatever. So that was just like the frustration of like what I was saying, and like I was like putting out there.
Now, are those videos quote bad?
Yes.
Why do you say so?
They're bad because I feel like they're bad because
a video bad. In your opinion, is it the level of effort? It seems to me like you are very much somebody who likes the idea of, thought went into this.
okay, so like with a video, your video could arguably be bad quality shot, but if your audio is good, people will be like, okay, you can at least look past that you're just using a shaky cell phone or whatever. And if your audio is shit matched with that, then it's like a dud, a hot piece of trash. And then if the joke and nothing lands, then like that to me is just like a bad video. There's just, I'm super hypercritical on stuff, especially when big brands pay money.
I think here's where the gap is. I think as artists and photographers, videographers listening, we'll look at something like that and say that is of poor quality, but we'll forget to say that is of poor quality artistically. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about brand work, the brands do not care whether it's shot on a cell phone, whether the audio is a little off. They care about how many people clicked and bought the product. And to them, that's a good video. So I think we need to remind ourselves, okay, what headspace am I in when I'm critiquing my own video or looking at inspiration? Am I in an artistic mindset as the artist, or am I in a business mindset?
Yeah. It's very hard to get out of that mindset.
Here's an example. So I was pressure washing my neighbor's gutters. Okay.
Come on.
And when you pressure wash something that's really dirty,
satisfying.
How satisfying it is. It was just shot on an iPhone, not the newest iPhone. I was just one-handed pressure washing, first person point of view, and you could see the gunk coming off. Literally just pulled a phone out of my pocket and I said, that's a great ad if I wanted to start a pressure washing business or a handyman business.
Yeah.
It is such a great ad, but it's crap quality. It's just on an iPhone. My hand's like not steady. The focus goes in and out. Bad video, right? But likely a great performer.
Yes.
So I think what would be helpful is, okay, I think your frustration is coming from like, this is bad art.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of like, you're right. I mean, you're not wrong, but I can compare it to, I've been making Stony ads for the past like two weeks because summer's coming, beer sales kick up, all this other stuff. So I've been deep into the Facebook business manager just making ads. Okay. I have my demographics made. I have all this stuff set up. And then it comes to a point where I'm now uploading the content in which people see. I know what is going to get more clicks. I know what was going to hit. I know what is going to grab people's attention to go to the thing. So when I do that, then I'm playing that marketing game, because at that point, my brain switches to, I just need to get people's attention. I need to get them to click. I need to get them to go learn more.
Right.
So if you remember the reel I made when I'm by myself and I throw the weed whacker, listening to Creed, grab the beer, whatever. There's a reel that I made. It's just shot on my iPhone. It's quick. It's funny. That is getting a shit ton of clicks on Facebook ads. I think I've spent like $50 and I already have around 500 clicks just seeing the ad, clicking it, and going to the website.
Okay, question. I'm going to interrupt. Is that a bad or good video?
Like the quality? I mean, I made it so I feel
being ambiguous and vague on purpose.
I think I just shot it with my iPhone.
Uh-huh.
There's parts of it that are in slow motion where it's choppy because it's in like 30 frames per second.
Right.
So it's not a high quality, high polished video, but it is serving its purpose.
So
I'm agreeing with what you're going. What do you mean?
Like, is it a good or bad video?
I think it's good.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think it's good because it's doing its job.
Because it's serving its purpose. Yes. So I think what this means is our video made for art or is it made for commercial purposes? And then I think that's a spectrum.
But also the video is funny too. So I mean, yeah. I'm also being subjective because I did it. It was my, you know what I mean?
So it's interesting because you're running the marketing department and you're also a very artistic person.
Yeah.
So I can see that being, I can see you, and you do this brilliantly often is combining those two elements where it's a great video and it's artistic but it also is relatable. And I don't want people to think it's mutually exclusive. You can have an amazingly shot video that is great commercially, or you can have like UGI or user generated content that's maybe not executed very well or could have been done better, but
it just depends on where it's going. Like actually shitty filmed content and user generated content and stuff like that does better than a high polished performing video.
Mm-hmm. It goes the same for photos too. I know we're talking a lot about video, but I mean, we've worked with brands before where they're like, no editing, do not edit.
Well, it's the like influencer mindset, or what am I trying to say? It's the it allows the audience to relate to it more.
Yes, you took the words out of my mouth. It's about relatability. Can the person relate to this? And there's many means to do that. Is the subject in the video reflective of me and my habits? Is the quality something that I could take a picture of and I'm like, oh, that's cool, and I subconsciously think that I could create that too? There's so many different variables to achieve that level of relatability.
Yeah. So, like you said, like the advantage that I have is I have like different, like if my brain was a pizza,
okay,
I have different slices. So I have like this video slice, this photo slice, this marketing slice, this slice. So I can like, okay, I gotta pull from this side right now. I need to be in this
pizza. If you're calling and asking for one slice with pineapple on it, the other one has Canadian bacon and
1/16 pepperoni.
Well, it's just kind of like, okay, this is the project I need to do. Mm-hmm. I'm going to access this part of my brain for it.
But back to your reel, the frustration, I think, is in probably any artistic industry that involves money and attention. I just think about music. There must be so many musicians and dive bars across the country in little venues that are absolutely phenomenal. And then looking at like stadiums being filled by stuff that's written by a team and sort of just put together to put asses in the seats, and they're like, that guy has no talent, ass clown. Like, I know that guy. I grew up with him. He can't work his way around a guitar to save his life, like whatever it may be. And I think there is that, but the question becomes like, is he the face for the company? Is he a good performer? Does she have incredible dance? Like, there's so much more to the entire picture when money's involved beyond just the art. And I think that can be frustrating to the artists in everyone.
Yeah. The artists, everybody's like struggling with like being seen. Like, to relate it to music, I have a buddy that I've met through work and stuff, and we do like Stony stuff together. I met him through that. And his name's Joey Adams, by the way. I'm going to plug him, so go check out his stuff. But it was like a few weeks ago, and you know when you're like somebody's friend or you're like a supporter, you like listen to their music and you're like, oh, this is good, you know? Mm-hmm. But it was like a few weeks ago, he's working on like a new CD and he put out a song. And I texted him. I was like, hey, like, I'm not just telling you this because we're boys and like I like work. I was like, this is actually good. Like, it was the point where I was like, this is like something that I would hear on a radio that could hang out with like Luke Combs and Morgan Wallen, that level. And he's like, and like, that's when like people are also getting frustrated. It's like, I have all this good stuff right here. Mm-hmm. I just need the right person to see it. So that's where my frustration comes from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what you've just described, the recipe is to continue.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why I tell you often, or I tell my buddies, because I'll get in my head. I'm like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah. But I'm not going to stop. Yeah. I mean, you need that support team to say, keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, we ask this question a lot to people, guests on the show, which is, what's a piece of advice you would give your younger self? And I don't know if I've ever verbally told people my answer to that question. And my answer is keep going.
Yeah.
Also, perspective is important, Ian, because I look at your career and I look at your hit rate in terms of the ability to work with obscure companies and get a yes from them and create content for them based on your artistic style and your way, right? So if you asked a bunch of beginning photographers like where the end goal would be for them, I think a lot of them would be like, I would love to be as successful as Ian Jones. That would be great. Like that level, managing also, full-time job, like all that other stuff to say, I mean, your resume, I know, is filled with opportunities where people are actually paying for your artistic talent. And if you break down that sentence alone, people are paying for your artistic talent, success, right? And to just keep going. We always want more. We always want a little bit more of that bigger client, that slightly bigger client, that slightly bigger paycheck. But when you really break it down and someone's paying for a skill that you have multiple times over, it's pretty damn impressive.
And that's like where it's all like relative. So like now you saying that, I'm like, like you're right. I know. Maybe I should just
hugs.
But no, I mean it is relative because when you are at a plane for like so long,
like a plateau type thing.
No, I don't mean like a plateau, but like I don't even want to say skill level. I'm just saying like if you're at a level for so long, that becomes your baseline,
right?
And then after a while, you feel like I don't want to say a failure. I do this all the time. Like just what Aaron said. Like yeah, you're absolutely right, and I need to think about that more. Where I'm at right now, there are people who would kill to be where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't just mean me in general. I just mean different creators, different levels of like, I'm sure there's a photographer that's just starting out. That's like, oh, that is end game. Yeah. But like when you're on a level plane for a while, that becomes your norm. So you're always trying to get to like the next thing to where it's fulfilling to you. So like I have good friends in the creative space who make content that have millions of followers. Their videos get hundreds, tens of millions of views. And I will listen to them bitch and get down that their video only got 1 million views in 24 hours. And I'm like, and to me, I'm like, that would be amazing. So if that's just where they are now, that's their level of plateauing. And that's just what their norm is.
You get to, if I were to audit your business, and I don't know the ins and outs, but you're a one-man show, I imagine.
Yeah.
So you get to a point, I think, in anything where it's like, okay, I'm at this level. If I want to continue at this level of producing for companies and clients and run my personal life and do everything else, I almost can't level up. There comes a point where you need outsourcing and you need help to level up. I guarantee if you paid someone to send clients 1,000 emails a week looking for content creation, you could be full-time, beyond full-time. Like would need a team to complete all the work that you could possibly have. You'd probably forget about social media because you were so busy raking in money and contracts. You know what I mean? So like you get to a plateau in anything where it's like, okay, we're at this level now, we're successful at this level. Is it possible to level up at this workforce, at this amount of time in the day with just me? Is it even really possible without letting go of something? Do I want to let go of my personal life? Do I want to let go of my full-time job? Do I want to let go of creating content for social media? Like, how am I going to level up and create more time? Am I going to pay for someone? Am I going to create a team? Am I going to invest in myself? Like whatever that part is, I think we can get really stuck at those plateaus because just based on natural facts of time, money, effort, whatever it may be. So like, there's no question in my mind that you could, who's barking?
Gabby.
Gabby agrees?
No, it's the dog. She's been like so good for the
longest time.
It's okay. Polly?
Yeah,
That's her name.
she's
I love Polly.
I thought it was
Polly
Kara.
agrees. She's getting fired up by my speech.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I think the kind of mantra that encapsulates all of this is, how grateful am I to be struggling and challenged at a level that I once aspired to be at?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great, but like, to be completely honest with you, like, I don't feel like I'm challenged enough right now. Like, I don't.
So what does that mean then?
But I don't.
The first question is, okay, well, I guess like the first question would be then, do you feel like you are someone who needs to be challenged, face new challenges as you reach higher personal levels?
And what's your next plane? Add that into that. Like, what's your next level in your brain? I'm curious, like,
yeah, what does that look like?
What would be the next, I feel happy now for a little bit, at least. What's that next one?
I don't know. Like, well, to answer part of that, because I said, like, I don't feel challenged enough in the sense of like things and ideas and stuff comes very easy to me, like extremely easy and quick. And I haven't been put in a position in a while to where I actually need to sit and think and process an idea or just something like that. And I feel like the projects I do work on or am involved in, nine times out of 10, if I'm in a room of like 4 or 5 people talking about something and they're banging their heads up against the wall, and this has happened multiple times before, banging their heads up against the wall, I will be tossed in a room and in there for 10 minutes and I'll shoot off an idea and everybody goes that route. And they're like, all right, thanks. And I'm just walk off. So like, I would love, honestly, I would love to just sit in like a boardroom of like a multi-million-dollar marketing, like company for a marketing firm, and just be like the stuff that these people are thinking of, the stuff that they're talking about is, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. And like,
well, that's when you learn, right?
Yes. Like, so like, I would love to be on like a project that like is killing me, to just like try to like think and figure something out, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. You guys keep talking. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Bathroom break.